I'll tell you who was Felix Frankfurter. They were very close.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know it sounds like I'm name dropping when I talk about Felix.
I'm going to ask you here about him, so go ahead.
About Felix, everybody who knew Justice Frankfurter called him Felix, not to his face. Always referred to him as Felix. Well, Felix was in our office all the time. The way it was set up is the secretary's office was in the middle, and if you're looking out from her desk, on the right was the justice's office, on the left was the clerk's office. And there are obviously doors to all three. Felix used to come in through our office, the clerk's, and then through Elsie's, the secretary's office, around in to see the boss. But he never came through but when he wanted to chat. He never forgot being a professor. And he loved to talk to young people, young lawyers. And he, we'd chat about whatever else might be going on. And he'd mention a case every once in a while. Now, in our offices, we had a complete set of the U.S. reports and the U.S. Code annotated. He'd research a case. He said, "Let me go to the cases." And he'd whistle. And he was short, and he'd go over it, and he said it was argued by so-and-so. So he's looking for the case by the name of the guy who argued it. And he'd find it. And, you know, a lot of stuff. The interchange with him was terrific. I've been to his home twice for dinner. At the end of each term, he invited his own clerks and a few others to his home for drinks and dinner, and I was privileged to do that twice. And you know, I'd like to sit there and have Felix Frankfurter look at you and say, "Now, George, what was the worst opinion of the year and why?" And you know, but we had answers for all this stuff, and the chatter. It's in a way, it's too bad that we didn't get some of that on tape, but we didn't. But those were memorable occasions. Justice Jackson once said to me, he said, "No, George, this is early on. After you've been here a while, you may be somewhat disillusioned." He said, "But I just want to warn you in advance." And I saw what he had in mind. It's like 9 law offices in one building. And they're not like they're partners or anything, but 9 law offices, and they've got a job to do, and they do it. Like lawyers, you know, that's nothing unusual about that. Although each with his own style, of course. Now, of all the justices, the one that Justice Jackson was closest to, by all odds, was Frankfurter. You know, which is an interesting combination, the country lawyer and the Harvard professor. But they got along marvelously well.
Was Jackson deemed at that time to be a terrific writer?
Oh, yes. He was. That was one of his most prominent skills. He was, I would say, certainly one of the best writers on the court in the 20th century. And he was fun to write with. I did a lot of that.
Yeah.
But that reminds me of purportedly a true story. You know, each of the Supreme Court justices and each of the principal government functionaries in the cabinet and that have had assigned to them an African American, which is known as the messenger. And Justice Jackson's messenger was Harry Parker, who'd been around the court almost since the day one. And this one time, well, Harry had served with McReynolds, Murphy, and all that before he finally came to roost with Justice Jackson. But he was a leader among the messengers, all of which actually doesn't have anything to do with the story. The one of the messengers died. I think perhaps a stone or one of them. So he felt that he ought to go to the funeral, but he didn't want to go alone. So he collared one of the other justices and got him to go with him. So they thought they could slip in and sit in the back pew unnoticed. Well, the reverend started with the funeral service, and then at some point he said, early on, would the members of the Supreme Court please rise? And the two of them look at one another like, oh my God. They look up and there 8 black men get up. Really? Yeah. 8 black men get up. To come to find out, in the black community, you took the identity of the man for whom you worked, so that you think you've got one Supreme Court, you got 2, one white and one black. and the same with the Secretary of the Treasury and the whole bit. I'm sure that's not. I don't know if it's true anymore.